Do you feel like you're awkward? This is true for so many people. So many of my clients believe that they're always awkward, especially when they're speaking English, and this can feel really uncomfortable in a second language. But this is so common for native speakers too. No matter what language you speak, it's really uncomfortable to have a social conversation and knowing how to navigate it. In any language, social situations are uncomfortable sometimes. Sometimes they're not going to be perfect. It's not always going to go smoothly. Small talk can be uncomfortable. It's normal to feel like you have a difficult time gauging these situations. But feeling like you're really awkward can actually hold you back from putting yourself in so many different situations. These situations can help you to grow as a person, build your career, make social connections. So many positive things that you're holding yourself back from because you're labeling yourself an awkward person. And I've also felt like this. Unfortunately, I feel the need to keep a conversation going with everyone I talk to. I feel like it's my responsibility to make sure everyone has a great time and things naturally flow. And this is a lot of pressure and makes me uncomfortable. It's made me socially anxious before. It's something I'm working on. You need balance of having conversations that you enjoy, that make you feel good, also making other people feel comfortable, but just practicing these social skills so that it doesn't feel like such a burden every time you're having these conversations, and therefore putting you in really uncomfortable situations that make you feel awkwardly. So for us to take the first step in overcoming this awkwardness, I want you to shift your mindset. As always, you're not awkward. You just have unrealistic expectations for yourself. Is that true? Do you often have unrealistic expectations for yourself? Because I know it's true for me. I'm a perfectionist in most ways. I'm working on overcoming it now. And small talk, social situations, conversations, no different. Most people expect themselves to be smooth, confident, sounding always natural in conversations, even if they're unfamiliar with the person or the situation or the environment. And this can be really stressful and overwhelming and overstimulating. Why do we feel like we have to be perfect every time? If a situation is new and uncomfortable to us, we have to have compassion for ourselves. We have to be kind to ourselves and remind ourselves this might not go perfectly, but that's okay. That's not a reflection on my skills or me as a person. However, we can practice and build skills so that new situations maybe feel more comfortable in the future. And that's the second part of the video. The reason you need to shift your mindset is because when the situation doesn't go perfectly and your desired expectation doesn't happen, you automatically label yourself as awkward. You say, this situation is uncomfortable because of me. And that's completely unfair. We need to remind ourselves that we're learning. We are making mistakes, and that's okay. We're not often kind to ourselves, and that voice in our head doesn't always respond in the best way. Really try to talk to yourself like you would talk to your friends or family. You'd be encouraging, not mean. Moral of the story is, you are not the problem. It's not your responsibility to keep the conversation going. This is what I need to tell myself. Haley, it's not your responsibility to keep the conversation going. And it's not. It takes at least two people to have a conversation. Why do you assume that you're the awkward one? Really, the fact that you're putting in so much effort shows that you want to have these social skills, have a good conversation, and hopefully the other person does too. But I'm gonna be honest, a lot of people aren't good conversationalists. A lot of people don't have the social skills. So remind yourself, it's not your fault. It's not your responsibility. Learn from your mistakes, grow, adapt your habits, do your best. That's all you can do. Social confidence is a skill, not a personality trait. And learning new skills takes time, just like my communication skills have. I definitely haven't always been able to talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime. These are skills that I built over a decade of working in restaurants and talking to any and all kind of customers that came through the door. Now I'm able to use these conversation skills to be a coach and to help all of my students learning English, building their skills and their mindset to thrive in another language. And all of my clients, when they're in another language and they're feeling uncomfortable, they're speaking in their second or third or fourth language, they're often going to pause or make small mistakes or say something they feel is awkward or have a kind of silence that they're uncomfortable with, and they interpret that as failure, as awkwardness. They're never going to be able to speak this language perfectly. But that's just not true. We need to remind ourselves of that. We need to have this mindset shift, and we need to remember we are not the problem. We're learning and growing, and we shouldn't label ourselves as anything. Now on to the practical tip. You need to focus on simple, repeatable social skills. These are skills that you can build and grow and develop over time so that when you're in these social situations that would once make you feel uncomfortable, make you feel like you're awkward, now, as you have practiced and repeated these skills, you're going to use them in these situations and feel more confident. So first off, instead of trying to be interesting, I want you to be interested in them, asking questions, nodding, encouraging this conversation, having that open body language and that active listening that encourages them to speak. You want to encourage engagement, sharing little pieces of information about you, allowing the conversation to maybe have a pause here and there and not be afraid to redirect the conversation, change the direction, and maybe introduce a topic that you're interested in. Stop trying to be impressive, use fancy vocabulary and grammar. This is not how people actually talk. Focus on encouragement, engaging, and being genuinely interested in this person and what they have to say. This really comes off in your demeanor, how you're approaching the situation. If you're nervous and feeling like you're awkward, that's going to show completely on your face, in your body language. Give yourself a break. Take a step back and say, I'm going to try to make this person feel interesting. And all that takes are some questions, some confidence, some cool, calm, and collected body language. Fake it. Fake it until you make it. Number 2, I mentioned asking some questions to make them feel interesting, to encourage this conversation. Well, if you really have a hard time coming up with questions on the spot, you need to memorize some go-to phrases or questions. Now, I go through this in some of my other videos, and I definitely will go through suggested questions in the future, but basically what it comes down to is having 3 go-to questions that you ask every single person all the time. So often my clients feel like you need to know 500 questions when I ask every single student I talk to, how's your day going? I like this question because it really allows people to decide how deep they want to go with you. If someone doesn't really want to engage, isn't interested in talking about their day, or it's really nothing happened, they say, oh, fine, didn't do much. But if someone wants to build rapport, wants to engage with you, they'll give you something specific like, oh my gosh, it was so stressful. I'm going through this project and my boss is on me all the time trying to micromanage me. There's different levels of engagement. And this question opens you up to that. But there's so many questions that you could ask depending on what you're interested in. Also, having a list of topics that you genuinely like to talk about and kind of gauging what would be best to bring up here. If it's someone you know that really likes sports, talk about your favorite sport. If it's someone you know with a really interesting or demanding job, ask about their job. Ask about something specific though, not general. What do you do? Any exciting projects going on lately? Or I think your field's so interesting. Like, can you tell me more about it? If you know someone's really interested in their dog, or they have something going on in their life recently that you heard about, ask them about it. You can have go-to questions and phrases that you ask everyone. But if you remember some things about people, this is going to be so much better at building rapport. Don't be afraid to memorize questions though, or even phrases that redirect conversations. Anything that you hear other people saying that you like, write them down in a note on your phone, practice them, and use them in conversation. It seems a little crazy or like you're over-prepared, but this is going to help you to feel comfortable. Once you write them down and then you remember to use them in conversation, you'll use them again and again and again, and then slowly this is just going to feel natural for you. And number 3, allow small pauses and imperfections. Embrace them even. Instead of trying to fill every single silence, remember that people who embrace pauses actually come off as the most powerful and confident people. I can't even do it, honestly. I can't use the power pause. It's something I'm working on. I want to, but I am so quick always to jump in and fill every silence. But when people are confident enough to just sit back, relax, take it slow, and then eventually they'll say, oh, did you hear about... They're not worried that there was a pause. They're not stressing over it. Or maybe they are in their head, but it doesn't seem like that. So that's another thing to remember too. Sometimes what you interpret as an awkward pause does not feel that way to another person. It's just another reason not to overstress yourself. So don't be afraid to take it slow, even embrace these slow parts of the conversation. Have some go-to questions or phrases ready, maybe even write them down ahead of time, and focus on making the other person feel interesting and being actively engaged in the conversation rather than stressing about being interesting yourself. So remember that feeling awkward doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It's so common. It really just means you're in a new or unfamiliar situation, or you're putting lots of stress and pressure on yourself for some reason. But when you shift your expectations and you focus on building the social skills, these social situations actually become a lot easier. You'll be more comfortable, more confident, and this will help you to build better connections. I really want you to feel as confident as possible speaking and navigating conversations. So if you want to work on this, I offer one-on-one coaching at valo.com, and I would love to be your communication coach. I hope this video was helpful. I hope next time you feel like you're awkward or in an awkward situation, you take a moment to step back and remember some of the things I mentioned here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.